Good morning, beautiful souls. Life will test you. It will throw storms at you when all you asked for was a gentle breeze. It will place mountains in your path when you were hoping for open fields. But hear me when I say this: what happens around you is not as important as what happens within you. Many of us live life reacting to people, to words, to circumstances, to disappointments. We let the world dictate our emotions like a puppet on strings. Someone speaks harshly and we react with anger. A door closes and we react with despair. But I ask you today, what if we trained our minds to respond rather than react? To react is to let impulse take the wheel. It is to hand over the power of your peace to someone else. It is to allow the winds of life to control your sails. But to respond is to pause, to breathe, to choose wisdom over impulse. To respond is to stand tall in the face of adversity and say, I will decide how this moment shapes me. A wise soul once said, between stimulus and response there is a space. And in that space lies our power to choose. That space, my dear ones, is the difference between peace and chaos, between wisdom and regret, between growth and stagnation. Let me tell you a truth: a river does not rage because the rocks are in its way, it flows around them. That is what we must learn. When life places obstacles before you, do not react like a storm that destroys everything in its path. Respond like the river. Find another way. Move with grace. Carry on with purpose. So when they mock you, do not react with bitterness, respond with dignity. When life disappoints you, do not react with despair, respond with resilience. When you are faced with ignorance, do not react with anger, respond with wisdom. For the person who controls their response controls their life. There is a difference, a mighty difference, between reacting and responding. A reaction is a spark in dry grass. It ignites quickly, fueled by emotion, spreading before thought has a chance to catch up. It is a word spoken in anger, a door slammed in frustration, a decision made in the heat of the moment that later turns into regret. A reaction is the mind's way of running ahead of wisdom, of letting the moment define you instead of allowing yourself to define the moment. But a response, my dear ones, is something else entirely. A response is the quiet strength of a tree that bends in the wind but does not break. A response is the steady hand that stirs a pot with patience, knowing that flavors take time to deepen. A response is a candle that does not flicker in the slightest breeze but burns with steady purpose. When we react, we let the world pull us by the strings of our emotions. Someone speaks unkindly, and we react with a sharp tongue. A situation turns difficult, and we react with frustration. We give away our peace little by little without even realizing it. And then we wonder why life feels like an endless storm, why our hearts are tired, why our spirits feel unsettled. But when we train ourselves to respond, we shift the power back into our own hands. We do not allow temporary emotions to make permanent choices. We do not let a fleeting moment rob us of our character, our dignity, our grace. Instead, we take a breath. We observe. We ask ourselves, what is the best way forward? What will serve me, not just in this moment, but in the days to come? A reaction is a matchstick. It burns fast, burns bright, but leaves nothing behind but ashes. A response is a flame tended with care. It warms, it lights the way, it lasts. So when you are faced with difficulty, when someone tests your patience, when life throws you into situations that threaten to shake you, do not react. Respond. Let your wisdom lead, not your impulse. Let your strength show, not your frustration. Let your heart be steady, your spirit be unshaken, your mind be clear. Life does not always come gently. It does not always knock politely at the door and wait for an invitation. Sometimes it barges in unannounced, bringing with it challenges, provocations, and moments that test the very fabric of who we are. And in those moments, the distance between what happens to us and how we choose to respond is where our power lies. But too often we surrender that space. We let our emotions take the reins before our wisdom has had a chance to catch up. Someone speaks to us harshly, and before we even realize it, sharp words fly from our lips in return. A challenge arises, and instead of pausing to think, we rush forward with fear, frustration, or resistance. We react without thinking, without breathing, without pausing, and in doing so, we allow the moment to control us instead of us controlling the moment. Yet, within every breath we take, there is a space where we can pause, a space where we can choose, a space where we can shift from mere reaction to thoughtful response. This space is not weakness, it is wisdom. It is the power of knowing that just because something happens instantly does not mean we must respond instantly. Consider the ocean. When a stone is thrown into it, the ripples do not appear immediately. The water absorbs, adjusts, then decides how to move forward. And so must we. If we allow ourselves that moment of pause, we gain clarity. We regain control over our emotions instead of letting them control us. This space between stimulus and action is where growth happens. It is where we learn to hold our tongue when anger rises, where we take a deep breath when frustration tightens our chest, where we remind ourselves that we are more than the heat of the moment. It is where we decide whether we will act in alignment with our highest selves or let fleeting emotions lead us astray. It is not easy to create this space. It takes patience. It takes self-awareness. It takes the understanding that a pause is not a sign of weakness, but a mark of strength. It is the warrior who holds their sword steady, not the one who swings wildly, who truly commands the battle. It is the wise leader who listens before they speak, not the one who shouts the loudest, who is most respected. And so, in moments of challenge, in moments of frustration, in moments when the world pushes you toward reaction, remember this: the power is not in the storm, but in the calm that follows. The power is not in the first emotion that rises, but in the choice that comes after. And the power, my dear ones, is always, always yours. For there is a sacredness to peace, a quiet power in the stillness of a mind that refuses to be shaken by the noise of the world. But too often we place our peace into the hands of others, allowing their words, their actions, their opinions to dictate the state of our spirit. We let a careless remark ruin our day. We allow the unkindness of another to harden our hearts. We give strangers and loved ones alike the power to pull us into storms we did not create. And in doing so, we surrender one of the most precious things we have, our inner calm. But I ask you today, who gave them permission? Who gave them the right to dictate whether you will wake up with joy or move through the day burdened by anger? Who handed over the key to your peace and allowed another person's bad mood to lock you inside their storm? Your peace, my dear ones, is not up for negotiation. It is not a thing to be traded, tossed around, or placed into the careless hands of those who do not know its value. It is yours to protect, yours to nurture, yours to keep. The winds of life will always blow. People will talk. They will judge. They will misunderstand you. They will come to you with their own storms, hoping to pull you into their chaos. But your soul is not a leaf to be tossed about. You must be the mountain, steady, unmoved, standing tall no matter how hard the winds try to shake you. Imagine a still lake on a quiet morning. The water is smooth, reflecting the sky with perfect clarity. But throw a stone into that water and the ripples will disturb its surface. Now imagine if every passing bird, every fallen leaf, every careless hand that reached into that lake could stir it into chaos. It would never know stillness, never know peace. But a deep lake does not allow itself to be disturbed so easily. Beneath the surface, the waters remain calm no matter what happens above. And so you must be like that deep lake. Do not let the world disturb your waters so easily. Do not let every unkind word, every temporary storm, every passing trouble ripple through your spirit. Breathe, be still. Guard your peace as though it were the most valuable treasure you own, because it is. You see, when you allow others to control your emotions, you hand over your power. You say to them, "Here, take my joy. Here, decide how I will feel today." But you are too wise, too strong, too full of purpose to let someone else steer the course of your heart. So when someone speaks to you in anger, let your soul remain calm. When the world around you is in turmoil, let your spirit remain still. When others try to bring their chaos to your doorstep, refuse to open the door. For the one who controls their peace controls their life. And there is no greater freedom than knowing that no matter what happens around you, what is within you is unshaken. There are those who will tell you that grace is softness, that to move through this world with patience, with kindness, with measured words is to be weak. They will say that to be firm, to be loud, to strike back quickly is the only way to survive. But I stand before you today to tell you this: grace is not a lack of strength, it is the highest form of it. To remain gentle in a world that often hardens people is strength. To hold your tongue when anger tempts you to lash out is strength. To choose understanding over judgment, calm over chaos, peace over retaliation, that is strength beyond measure. There is a great misconception that to be strong, one must be forceful, that power must come with sharp edges and raised voices. But tell me, what is stronger, the wind that howls and tears down everything in its path, or the mountain that stands firm no matter how fiercely it is battered? True strength is not in the storm that destroys, but in the stillness that endures. Grace is knowing you could retaliate, but choosing not to. Grace is looking into the eyes of those who have wronged you and choosing to let go of the weight of anger, not because they deserve it, but because you deserve peace. Grace is speaking with wisdom instead of reacting with fury, standing in dignity instead of lowering yourself to the level of those who try to shake you. Some may mistake grace for weakness because it does not boast. It does not announce itself with fists or fury. It does not demand attention the way loudness does. But do not be fooled. Grace carries a strength so deep, so steady, so unshakable that those who do not understand it will never comprehend its power. To be graceful is to be unbothered by the smallness of others. It is to stand tall while others crouch in bitterness. It is to walk away from battles that are not worth your energy, knowing that dignity is the greatest victory of all. Think of water gentle enough to slip through your fingers, but powerful enough to carve through mountains. Think of the willow tree. Its branches bend with the wind, but it does not break. That is grace. The ability to bend but never bow. The ability to flow but never lose yourself. The ability to be gentle but never be defeated. It takes no strength to lash out in anger. It takes no strength to meet insult with insult, fire with fire, but to stand in the face of hostility with a quiet, unwavering spirit, to choose grace when the world expects rage. That is the kind of strength that cannot be broken. So do not let this world convince you that grace is weakness. Those who move with grace are the ones who are truly powerful. because they have mastered the greatest battle of all, the battle within. There is wisdom in the way a river moves. It does not stop when a rock stands in its path. It does not turn back when a mountain dares to challenge its course. It does not waste its energy in anger trying to push the obstacle out of its way. No, a river simply flows. It moves with quiet determination, finding a new path, carving its way through valleys, slipping around boulders, making its way forward without resistance, without hesitation. And we, too, must learn to move like the river. Life is full of obstacles, some small, some mighty, some that seem so immovable we feel as though we will never get past them. There will be people who stand in your way, blocking your progress with doubt, with negativity, with unkind words meant to shake your confidence. There will be situations that feel unfair, setbacks that seem to undo all your hard work, unexpected detours that make you question if you will ever reach your destination. But hear me when I say this, the obstacle is not the end of the journey, it is simply part of the path. Too often we spend our energy fighting what is in our way. We push, we resist, we become frustrated when life does not go exactly as we plan. We see an obstacle and assume it means we must stop, that we are not meant to move forward. But a river does not stop for anything. It does not waste time in frustration. It does not complain that the road is not clear. It simply adapts. It finds a way. It keeps flowing. And so must we. There will be moments when your progress is slowed, when challenges arise that test your patience, your resilience, your faith in yourself. Do not let these moments turn you into a person who is rigid, who fights against what cannot be changed. Instead, learn to be fluid. Learn to adjust, to shift, to flow around the obstacles instead of exhausting yourself trying to push them away. A river knows that no matter how many twists and turns it must take, no matter how many rocks line its bed, no matter how many detours it must endure, it will still reach the ocean. And you too will reach your destination not by force, not by frustration, but by movement, by persistence, by flowing forward, even when the path is not clear. Look at the most successful, the most peaceful, the most resilient people in this world. They are not the ones who fought every battle that came their way. They are the ones who knew when to step aside, when to change course, when to embrace the detours instead of resisting them. They are the ones who understood that strength is not always about force, it is about knowing when to move with the currents of life instead of against them. So be like the river. When obstacles arise, do not stop. Do not fight battles that do not need to be fought. Do not let frustration steal your energy. Instead, flow, adapt. Move with purpose, knowing that every challenge, every delay, every unexpected turn is still leading you exactly where you are meant to be. There is a thin but mighty line between reacting and responding, and on that line rests the weight of our choices. The way we handle our moments of challenge, conflict, and adversity determines the direction of our lives. We can react in the heat of the moment, allowing impulse to dictate our steps, or we can take a breath, step back, and respond with intention. One path leads to wisdom, the other to regret. One path strengthens us, the other burdens us with consequences we cannot undo. Reactions are immediate. They are fiery, quick, and often unfiltered. They are born from emotion rather than thought, from impulse rather than wisdom. When we react, we let the moment control us instead of controlling the moment. How many times have we spoken words in anger that we later wished we could take back? How many times have we made a choice out of frustration, out of fear, out of impatience, only to later realize that we acted too soon, too harshly, too blindly? Regret is the shadow that follows reaction. It lingers, whispering, if only you had waited. If only you had thought before you spoke. If only you had chosen differently. And the weight of that regret can be heavier than the momentary satisfaction of a quick reaction. But responding, that is where growth lies. Responding is the act of pausing, of allowing wisdom to rise before words are spoken, before actions are taken. Responding is the art of knowing that every situation does not require immediate action, that sometimes the greatest strength is found in patience. Growth happens in the space between the trigger and the response. It happens when we stop to ask ourselves, is this worth my energy? Will my reaction create peace or more conflict? Will I be proud of how I handle this moment when I look back on it later? A response allows us to step into our highest self, to move with grace, to choose a path that builds us rather than one that breaks us. Think of fire. A reaction is like throwing gasoline on a spark. It erupts instantly, consuming everything in its path, leaving destruction behind. A response, however, is like tending a flame with care, allowing it to grow into warmth rather than destruction. When we react, we often burn bridges, create unnecessary conflict, and invite regret into our lives. But when we respond, we create understanding, strengthen relationships, and build wisdom that carries us forward. Growth does not come from lashing out, from acting before thinking, from allowing emotions to dictate our every move. Growth comes from self-awareness, from learning to master the space between what happens to us and how we choose to handle it. Growth comes from recognizing that not everything requires our reaction, that some battles are not worth fighting, that peace is often more powerful than proving a point. The difference between regret and wisdom is often just a single breath, a single moment of stillness before we act. The choice is always ours. Will we react and be left with the weight of consequences we cannot take back? Or will we respond with wisdom, choosing growth, peace, and understanding? That decision, my dear ones, defines not only the moment but the path our lives will take. Life is not just about what happens to you, it is about how you choose to respond to it. Two people can face the same challenge, stand at the same crossroads, feel the same weight pressing upon their shoulders, and yet their realities may unfold in entirely different ways. Why? Because it is not the situation that defines us, it is our response to it. We do not always have control over what life places in our path. Storms will come without warning, people will disappoint us, plans will fall apart, and difficulties will arise when we least expect them. But in every situation, no matter how unpredictable or unfair, we still hold one great power, the power of response. How we respond determines whether we rise or fall, whether we grow or remain stuck, whether we create peace or invite more chaos into our lives. A person who responds to hardship with anger and frustration will experience life as a battle, constantly feeling like the world is against them. But a person who meets the same hardship with patience, resilience, and wisdom will experience life as a lesson, an opportunity to grow stronger and wiser with every challenge. You see, life is a mirror. It reflects back to us not only what happens, but how we perceive and handle what happens. If we respond with bitterness, the world will seem bitter. If we respond with grace, life will seem full of grace. If we respond with fear, everything will seem threatening. If we respond with courage, obstacles will turn into stepping stones rather than roadblocks. Imagine two people standing in the rain. One curses the sky, frustrated by the inconvenience, seeing nothing but misery in the storm. The other lifts their face to the falling drops, knowing that the rain is necessary, that it nourishes the earth, that without it, nothing would grow. The same rain falls on them both, yet their experience of it is entirely different, not because of the rain itself, but because of how they choose to see it. Your response is the paintbrush that colors the world around you. Respond with negativity, and your reality will be filled with struggle. Respond with patience, and you will find understanding. Respond with gratitude, and you will see abundance even in the smallest things. Respond with anger, and life will seem filled with enemies. Respond with love, and the world will feel full of possibility. Every challenge is an invitation to react impulsively or to respond with wisdom, an invitation to remain stuck in old patterns or to rise into a higher version of yourself. If you meet life with resistance, life will feel like a fight. If you meet life with acceptance and a willingness to learn, life will feel like a journey. Your reality is not created by your circumstances alone. It is shaped by the way you choose to move through them. So ask yourself, when difficulties arise, when people test your patience, when life does not go as planned, what kind of reality do you want to create? Because that choice, that response is always in your hands. Peace is not something the world hands to you. It is not something that appears only when circumstances are perfect, when people are kind, when life is free of difficulty. If peace were dependent on the outside world, we would never truly have it, for the world is unpredictable, full of trials, full of people with their own struggles, their own storms. No, peace is not given. It is chosen. It is chosen in the way you wake up in the morning and decide not to let yesterday's burdens weigh you down. It is chosen in the way you hold your tongue when anger tempts you to react. It is chosen in the way you let go of things you cannot control, refusing to let them steal your joy. Many people believe peace is something they will find one day when life finally slows down, when they have everything they want, when the noise of the world fades away. But peace does not wait for the perfect moment. It does not come when life arranges itself just right. Peace is found in the midst of the storm, not in the absence of it. It is found when you decide that no matter what is happening around you, within you there will be stillness. Look at a tree standing in the middle of a storm. The wind howls. The rain beats against it. The branches bend. But the roots remain firm. The tree does not fight the wind. It does not resist the rain. It simply stands knowing the storm will pass. That is what peace looks like, not the absence of difficulty, but the ability to stand tall in the midst of it. We live in a world that thrives on reaction, on conflict, on noise. Every day, we are given opportunities to be pulled into negativity, to argue with strangers, to be offended by the careless words of others, to let anger and frustration dictate our emotions. But every moment we are also given a choice to react or to rise above, to be pulled into chaos or to protect our peace. And protecting your peace does not mean ignoring the realities of life. It does not mean turning away from what is difficult or pretending that struggles do not exist. No, protecting your peace means learning to navigate life with grace, with wisdom, with the understanding that not everything deserves your energy. It means knowing when to speak and when to be silent, when to engage and when to walk away, when to fight and when to surrender. Think of a river. It does not stop flowing just because a rock appears in its path. It does not rage against the obstacle. It simply moves around it, continuing its journey. That is what peace looks like, understanding that obstacles will come, but they do not have to disrupt your flow. Peace is not found in what the world gives you. It is found in what you decide to hold on to and what you choose to let go of. It is found in the pauses between the noise, in the deep breath before you speak, in the understanding that you do not have to attend every battle you are invited to. You do not need permission from the world to have peace. You do not need the approval of others to feel calm. You do not need every situation to be perfect before you allow yourself to rest. Peace is yours to claim, not because the world offers it to you, but because you decide, I will not let anything outside of me control what is within me. So, my dear ones, remember this peace is not something you wait for, nor is it something that life must grant you. It is something you create, something you choose, something you guard with all your strength. The world will test you. It will throw challenges in your path. People will misunderstand you, and storms will come when you least expect them. But none of that has the power to take away your peace unless you allow it. No one else gets to decide the state of your heart, your mind, your spirit. Only you do. So choose wisely. Choose to breathe when anger rises. Choose to let go when the weight is too heavy. Choose to stand firm when the winds of chaos try to shake you. Choose to be like the river flowing forward no matter what stands in your way. Because in the end, peace is not given, it is claimed. And when you claim it, when you decide that nothing and no one can steal the stillness within you, you will find that true power, true strength, and true freedom were always in your hands.